Yeah, please start.
Good afternoon to one and all. Respected Chief Guest, Ms. Shabnam Basi Madam. Our esteemed speaker, Ms. Namrata Mahal. Respected trustees, Honorable Member of the Trust, Srimati Bijal Doshi Ma'am. An experienced and visionary director, Dr. S. Kumudavali Madam. Our dynamic leader and an academics of prominence, Principal Dr. Asha Menon Madam. Reputed officials of Griha Council and Mukta. Convener Dr. Rekha Randive Madam, IQSC Coordinator Mr. Raju Chauhan, Vice Principals of all faculties, coordinators, and dear participants. This is Sachin Bhumbe, and at the outset, on behalf of the organizing team, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the dignitaries and the participants to this national webinar on Safe Green Campuses, the post-COVID-19 perspective, which is organized by the IQAC of Srimati P. N. Doshi Women's College in association with two prominent institutions, namely Griha Council and Mukta. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are passing through unprecedented times owing to the challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. It has adversely affected almost every walk of life, and therefore, it has become imperative for all of us to rethink about our priorities, our choices, and our lifestyle. It's a right time to reconnect with nature and redesign our way of living as well as work style to ensure happier and healthier future ahead. Keeping this thought in mind, the IQAC of Srimati P. N. Doshi Women's College has organized this webinar to get insightful deliberations on a very relevant and pertinent theme, that is Safe Green Campuses, the post-COVID-19 perspective. So, before we initiate the deliberations, let's shed some light on the core intent of organizing this webinar. I sincerely invite and request Dr. Rekha Randive Madam, the convener and the vice principal of Home Science Faculty, to elucidate the concept note, please.
Thank you,
Over to you,
Sachin.
Rekha Madam.
Thank you, Sachin. Here I am to introduce the concept note, Safe Green Campuses, the Post-COVID-19 Perspective. Conventionally, a campus is just a piece of land of which a college, university, of any large organization and related institution spaces are located and a self-contained community supported by vast systems of institutional and organizational functions. However, in addition to producing academically sound graduates, an institution of higher learning would do well to inculcate an environmental ethic as an essential graduate outcome, stressing upon a long-term commitment to continuous environmental improvement. Green campuses, therefore, are places where environmentally sensitive practices and education go hand in hand and where environmentally responsible tenets are the norm. In urban context, green initiatives have usually been focused upon efficient use and conservation of scarce resources such as water and energy, along with eco-friendly waste management practices. The COVID-19 pandemic has added yet another dimension to the assessment of a building or a campus, wherein it is now imperative that in addition to being safe in terms of structural integrity and green in terms of eco-friendly practices, it's also important that its safety is guaranteed in terms of being a no-risk space for infection transmission. Offices, buildings, and educational institutions are spaces where maintaining physical distancing may not really be possible given the number of people who will converge there on a daily basis. We are also aware that many such premises were utilized to create facilities for personnel involved in the management of logistics of the pandemic. It is now our responsibility to ensure that these spaces are safe to visit or work in the long run. We are introducing through this webinar the building fitness indicator BFI, which is being developed as a self-assessment tool that will allow organizations to measure the preparedness of the workplaces for workforce in order to prevent exposure to COVID-19. The larger intent is to provide a certain degree of assurance to the occupants regarding their safety and comfort within the premises before businesses and activities resume as normal. BFI is a social initiative by Griha Council to contribute towards the welfare of people to tackle the novel corona crisis. The tool has been derived from best of the national and international practices and guidelines issued by various organizations like World Health Organization, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and a few more. The main objective of the webinar is elaborating on the needs of going green at the campus level and ways of institutionalizing these practices. Uh, Second objective is detailed understanding of the preparatory and arrangement measures to manage the COVID-19 situation. And the third objective is hands-on understanding of the tool, which will quantify the readiness towards the working environment and for the workforce. With these objectives, I'm sure the speakers who are there today in the panel are going to do a great justice, and over to the program moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for a comprehensive explication of the concept note. Now I would like to invite our dynamic principal, Dr. Asha Menon, madam, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Sachin Bumbe. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on Safe Green Campuses, the post-COVID-19 perspective, organized by IQAC, SP Indoshi Women's College, Mumbai. I'm reminded of a quote by William Pollard, who says, "Without change, there is no innovation, creativity, or incentive for improvement. Those who initiate change will have a better opportunity to manage the change that is inevitable." As the country is grappling with when and how to reopen educational institutions, new seating matrix, staggered classes, different mess and library rules, revamped hostels and canteens could be a part of students' socially distant lives in schools and colleges when we return, with the HRD ministry forming safety guidelines to be followed whenever classroom begins. I'm sure the guidelines will include a checklist and recommended measures to ensure student and staff safety. However, the COVID-19 situation in a particular area should also be kept in mind, and the institutions will have flexibility to adapt to the guidelines accordingly, looking into the safety and health of students and staff. While we are facing the pandemic, a new challenge is emerging: how to keep our campuses safe post-COVID-19. In order to understand how to go about it, we have amongst us two very prominent personalities. First, I would like to welcome Ms. Shabnam Basi, Associate Director at the Energy and Resource Institute, TERI, and Secretary of Griha Council, who accepted our invitation to be here with us and speak on a very important, relevant topic. No other person other than you would have done justice to this topic, ma'am. Welcome to this webinar. I have great pleasure in welcoming Ms. Namrata Mahal, an architect by profession and a fellow at the Energy and Resources Institute, TERI, and Senior Manager of the Western Zone at Griha Council. Most of us here have seen her grow up into a professional of repute. I'm happy to see her move away from the shadow of her parents and create an identity of her own. Welcome, Namrata. Today, we also have with us Srimati Bijal Ben Joshi, Member Trustee, SPRJ Kanyashala Trust, whose support is always there for all our endeavors. She is one of the most energetic personality around and a ready helping hand. Welcome, Bijal Ben. I would also like to welcome Dr. S. Kumudavali Madam, Director, who is a source of inspiration to all of us, and the strong support she extends is always cherished. I would like to welcome all the participants for this webinar. I am told we have more than 200 participants from 17 states of India and Nepal. You all have made this webinar a great success by your participation. But before I hand over the proceedings to Dr. Sachin Bumbe, I would like to mention a few accomplishments of my college. S.P.N. Doshi Women's College has been recognized as one of the top performing institutes in the country by NAC in 2017. Our college was re-accredited thrice with A grade in 2003, 2010, and 2016. We at S.P.N. Doshi, while basking in the glory of our success, do not sit on our achieved laurels, but tirelessly work to touch the zenith. At the same time, we wish to correct the shortcomings of the past and try to fare better in the future. Today, we look forward with a sense of hope towards greater growth and progress. Each year, we have accomplished important milestones. The vision of our institution is to educate, enlighten, and empower girls. We insist to motivate the weak, address the average, and challenge the gifted. Well-qualified and dedicated teachers, excellent teaching and learning process, student support like mini lunch, clothes bank, book bank, good governance, leadership and management, and best practices like IQAC and academic and administrative audit have helped us achieve what we have today. All these have culminated not only in getting high grades in NAC, but also in fulfilling our vision to be recognized as a center of excellence for education that empowers women, leading to self-actualization. I once again welcome all of you to this national webinar on Safe Green Campuses, the post-COVID perspective. Wishing this webinar all success. Thank you. Over to Dr. Sachin Bumbe.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a warm welcome address. Friends, to grace this occasion, we have with us Honorable Member of the Trust, Srimati Bijal Ben Doshi, who, despite having prior engagements, made it possible to be with us on this auspicious occasion. I take pleasure in inviting respected Bijal Ben Doshi Madam to share her invaluable views with all of us.
Thank you, Subhashji. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Subhashji. It is such an honor to be a part of today's awesome event. Our college, Srimati P.N. Doshi Women's College, a pioneer in women's education, visualized and promoted women's education at a time when it was not a priority. Srimati P.N. Doshi Women's College was established by the Trust in 1960. The college started with only 5 students in BA and has grown into a multi-faculty institution with more than 6,000 students. Our vision is to be recognized as a center of excellence for education that empowers women, leading to self-actualization. Our mission is to empower women by providing quality higher education to enrich social and cultural values of women through holistic education, and to support the underprivileged women with financial assistance to get educated and be of self-esteem and self-reliant. As Asha ma'am mentioned, we've already been accredited A grade several times before. Healthy all-round development of girls, who are the future of our society, is the main fulcrum of the wheel, and all our academic courses spin around this. Thus, it is that our students do not lean or learn for a living. They learn for becoming succor and sustenance to their families, their communities, and to the nation at large. We provide education to over 6,000 girls through our junior college affiliated to HSC board, degree colleges offering conventional and professional courses, as well as postgraduate programs, diploma institutes affiliated with SNDT Women's University, add-on courses, and a career institute, all under one roof. The trust also manages 2 schools, which are from pre-primary section to secondary section, standard 10. Thank you very much. Delighted to be a part of today's webinar.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind and encouraging words. Moving ahead, an important co-host of this webinar is Mukta, to acquaint us with the organization and its substantial contribution in the field of education. Dr. Manpreet Kaur Madam is with us. I request Madam to say a few words about the organization.
थैंक यू सचिन जी। राष्ट्र के हित में शिक्षा, शिक्षा के हित में शिक्षक, शिक्षक के हित में समाज, इस उदात्त उद्देश्य से वर्ष 2008 में मुंबई यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेज टीचर एसोसिएशन की स्थापना हुई। संगठन अखिल भारतीय राष्ट्रीय शैक्षिक महासंघ से संबद्ध है। डॉक्टर शेखर चंद्र रात्रे ने अनुभव किया कि अध्यापक अपने अधिकारों से अनभिज्ञ है, इसलिए उन्होंने मुंबई यूनिवर्सिटी और उससे संबद्ध महाविद्यालयों में एक जागरूकता अभियान का आरंभ किया। डॉक्टर शेखर चंद्र रात्रे संगठन के अध्यक्ष एवं डॉक्टर नामदेव माटके महासचिव के पद पर नियुक्त हुए। मुक्ता के सदस्य सेनेट में चुनाव लड़े और जहां वो जीते और वह प्राध्यापकों की समस्याएं सीधे संबंधित अधिकारियों तक पहुंचाते हैं। सुचारू रूप से कार्य करने के लिए मुक्ता ने 2 सेल बनाए हैं। टीचर एजुकेशन सेल, जो प्राध्यापकों को उनकी जिम्मेवारियों से अवगत कराता है और यूनिवर्सिटी के अधिनियम, कानून, अध्यादेशों की जानकारी देता है। टीचर ग्रीवियंस सेल शिक्षकों को न्याय दिलाने में मदद करता है, उनकी समस्याएं उच्चाधिकारी तक पहुंचाता है और जरूरत हो तो कानूनी सलाह भी देते हैं। वर्तमान में अध्यक्ष डॉक्टर वैभव नरावडे और हमारे अपने सचिव डॉक्टर सुभाष अठावले सर दिन रात शिक्षकों के हित में कार्यरत है। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, madam. Very well said. We consider it our privilege to be associated with Mukta, and we look forward to have many more collaborative events in future. Now, the most awaited item on the agenda is to listen to the chief guest. Before that, I would like to make 2 important announcements. Number 1, participants are requested to put their questions in the Telegram group. And second, it is regarding feedback link. Link of the feedback form will be shared in the Telegram group at the end of the webinar. It is mandatory or necessary to fill up the feedback form for all with all correct details to get certificates, because your certificates will be generated on the basis of the details that you will fill in the feedback form. Okay, without much ado, now I would like to invite Miss Amrita Bahel Madam to invite today's speakers, the chief guest, Miss Shabnam Basi Madam, and the keynote speaker, Miss Namrata Mahel Madam. Madam, please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Sachin, for inviting me to do this very pleasurable task of introducing both our guests today. Our first speaker for today is Ms. Shabnam Basi. She is a fellow and full-time associate director at the Energy and Resources Institute, which we all know as TERI, and secretary of the Griha Council, which is a joint society established by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, and TERI. It is important for us to know that TERI has developed Griha, the unabbreviated form of which is Green Rating for Integrated Habitat Assessment, which was adopted as a national rating system for green buildings by the Government of India in 2007. Shabnam Basi ma'am is an experienced project manager with a demonstrated history of working in the international affairs industry. Sustainable development, proposal writing, management, sustainability, and training are just some of her specialized skills and experience that I am mentioning here. She started her career as a project engineer at the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, India, in September 2007, where she was involved in the implementation of the Energy Conservation Building Code, commonly known as the ECBC. The ECBC, launched in May 2007, included a number of activities to start with, namely building up capacities of the states, dissemination of information, amendments to existing bylaws, and preparing various compliance and conformance tools for its implementation. She was engaged with the process of amendments and implementations of the ECBC in states of Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Haryana, Kerala, Odisha, and Gujarat. She was instrumental in organizing national workshops covering major aspects of the ECBC with the purpose of raising awareness among the architects, builders, and students of architecture about the energy efficient building design practices. She went from strength to strength to become the assistant project manager at the United Nations Development Program, that is the UNDP, mainly addressing demonstration buildings components of the project and providing assistance to the states to implement the ECBC. There can be no one better than Ms. Shabnam Basi, our first speaker at today's webinar, to enlighten us about how already existing buildings in urban spaces can be made compliant with nationally recognized green building norms. Our second speaker for today is our very own Namrata. Namrata Kaur Mahal is an architect by profession. She's also a fellow at TERI and senior manager of the Western Zone at the Griha Council. Before working with TERI, Namrata served as a junior architect at Vistar Architects and Planners, where she had a plethora of opportunities to work on projects ranging from a small private bungalow to a multi-specialty hospital. While preparing working drawings, specifications and on-site evaluations were few of the key activities. She also had an opportunity to intern with SIDCO, a special planning authority of Maharashtra, wherein she prepared the working drawings and specifications for a landmark community building. With over 10 years of experience, she has developed expertise in conceptualizing and implementing strategic plans, programs, and projects, keeping context and sustainability at the core. Further, her experience of using both quantitative and qualitative research techniques have enabled her to initiate multidisciplinary projects. She has good administrative and organizational skills. Prioritizing workload and remaining calm under pressure has helped her to lead her team for various projects. Further, she has been instrumental in promoting adoption of Griha in Maharashtra. She has been successfully mobilizing green building dialogues with urban local bodies across Maharashtra. And further to her credit, she has contributed significantly to the development of the comprehensive action plan to make Navi Mumbai an eco-city. She has presented and published several articles and papers at various fora. She has done her bachelor's in architecture from the Academy of Architecture, University of Mumbai, and master's in construction management from Rachna Sansat's Construction Management Institute. Ms. Namrata Mahal will be introducing us to the much awaited building fitness indicator, using which all of us will be able to implement procedures to ensure safety of all stakeholders in the post-COVID-19 scenario. I welcome both of the speakers. Over to the speaker.
Thank you, ma'am, for an explicit introduction of the speakers. May I now invite our chief guest to take charge of the session and enlighten us on the topic.
Shabnam ma'am, you may please proceed. I hope everyone is able to see our screen now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Shabnam ma'am, please unmute your mic.
Yeah, please unmute and speak.
Right. Dr. Rekha Randev, our principal ma'am, Dr. Asha Menon, Srimati Bejalben Doshi ji, Dr. Manpreet Kaur, as well as all the organizers and team for organizing today's webinar. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. We at Griha Council sincerely hope that you and your loved ones are really staying safe and are really healthy. With these initial remarks, I welcome you all to today's webinar on green campuses, hosted jointly by Griha Council and Mukta, if I may call it in its short name. This webinar is basically going to focus on the way we are going to occupy our offices or campuses when we are planning to go back and join work. But to really go into the details of this tool that we have created, I would like to give you a very brief background of our organization, where we come from and what we do, for the benefit of all of us. Namrata, if you could quickly go on the first slide. Yes. So as you can see, and it has been just mentioned, that GRIHA is an acronym for Green Ratings for Integrated Habitat Assessment. So we started talking about green buildings way back in 2000, 2001, when a lot of buildings that were coming around, around us were mostly glass buildings, not a lot of culture or a lot of Indianization was happening in our buildings. So what was happening is that, these buildings were becoming more of energy guzzlers, and, we were aping a lot of buildings from the West. So we wanted to bring in some kind of discipline in the kind of construction that we were doing, and to ensure that a number of policies were put in place around that time, and to ensure that the buildings that we were constructing that time were not only energy efficient, but were also sustainable at the same time. So, when we started talking about GRIHA, there were a number of international ratings that were already existing. But what was happening was that, these international ratings, they were just making minor changes in the way they were working in India, but were not very Indianized. So we really wanted something that was in the Indian context. So at that time, TERI, as well as MOEF, that is, MNRE, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, they came together and they developed this rating with all the expertise that we had within TERI to develop this tool, which is GRIHA. So it is a very, very simple tool, which not only tells you how to design and construct new buildings, but it also helps you to understand the kind of operational practices that a building should follow in order to remain green forever. So, if you really go to the details of this tool, you will understand more that it is more of a guidance as to how we can manage or rate buildings in the Indian context. It is based on a very simple philosophy of what gets measured gets managed. So unless we know that, what kind of savings the buildings can achieve, what was a benchmark, or where do we begin from, we will not be able to manage this. So we should know what our baselines are. So we should know where we have to start from. So we should know that, if you are going to construct a green building, then what are the various measures that should go? What are the things that we should understand before we really start conceptualizing a project? So the first and the foremost step in understanding any kind of green building is to understand that, what we construct should be, thought through, and should also be, give something to the future generation. So based on these criteria, GRIHA has been conceptualized. So Namrata, can we go to the next slide? So these are the 4 key differentiators, or the main 4 pillars on which GRIHA has been designed. So largely, when we start talking about buildings in the Indian context, then we should understand that, buildings should be constructed in a way that should be constructed in a way that has to be very Indianized. So the local concepts, the local architecture, the local way of constructing has to be adopted. So we have to understand that, the local architectural needs should be met in a building. So that is the foremost criteria that we keep in mind when we construct GRIHA. So it rates all kinds of buildings, air-conditioned buildings, non-air-conditioned buildings, as well as hybrid buildings. We are known for our transparency and the way we rate our projects. It is a performance-based rating. We award a rating only once the building has been constructed and is in its operation. So you get a rating only when you get an audited statement from your project. So that is how we work. Socially inclusive, this is the only rating which takes care of the welfare and the way we are talking about the social welfare of the construction workers. So it is a rating that has a socially inclusive factor in it. We are talking about smart and traditional ways, so which means that we focus on the local solution and promote traditional design principles for providing comfort to the occupants. Yeah, so these are all the variants that we have as of now if we talk about Griha projects. So we have a section on new buildings in which we have ratings for very small buildings, which is called the Swagriha ratings, in which the areas are less than 2,500 square meters. For projects more than 2,500 square meters, we have a large ratings, which is called Griha. So all the projects, which have areas more than this, be it office buildings, retail shops, institutional buildings, hotels, hospitals, healthcare facilities, residences, they all fall under this category. So this is the largest section of our rating in which the buildings get registered. We have also recently come up with a new section on affordable housing. So this rating is in line with the affordable housing of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So we thought that if you're talking about the affordability in a house, then we should also talk about the sustainable aspects that should get covered in a rating. So this was basically to cater to those very special housing groups that are going to come in the future. So we have created a rating for the affordable housing category. We also have ratings for large developments for areas more than 50 hectares. These are called Griha for large developments, and these are basically the master plan rating. Now, there's a very interesting section, which is the existing building rating, and I think I'll go deeper into explaining this. So, existing building rating is applicable to all the buildings which have areas more than 2,500 square meters. We basically address all the issues which are related to the operational side of the building. And then we have a very last and very interesting category, which is the rating for day schools. So what we have done in this rating is that we have basically tried to generate interest in kids to understand the sustainability aspects at a very, very tender age. So what we do is we go and explain them the various ideas around sustainabilities as to how to measure the carbon footprint, how do you measure the electricity consumption in your building, how do you measure the air quality in your building. So we take those instruments to the kids and the classroom and teach them what are the noise levels in their classroom. And then we help them collect data of their own building. And in this process of rating, they also achieve, they learn a lot in this process. So this is a very, very innovative rating that we have, and we want to promote this, in the coming times, because kids are going to be, talking a lot about these things in the coming times, and it is the best time to teach them. Namrata, can we go to the next slide? So as I was explaining that, existing buildings has a huge potential in terms of savings. So nearly, if we look at the existing buildings category, nearly 8,700 million kilowatt and nearly 74 million tons of CO2 saving potential lies in the existing building category. If we look at, only in the building section, so if we look out at the main sections where, energy savings can be achieved, it is basically HVAC and lighting, out of which also HVAC holds 55% of the total energy consumption and lighting 25%. So towards the graph on the right, if you have looked at, there are energy saving potentials. So lighting, we are able to achieve nearly 72% of savings in lighting if we go by the various measures in the existing building category. In cooling, we can achieve nearly 13 to 15% of savings. And if you look at the total EPI, that is the energy performance index of the building, we are able to reduce it by nearly 40%. So there's a huge potential. And, what we feel that, most of the expenses in existing buildings are run out in the, running a building. So, if we are able to tap those major areas and focus on improving the performance of these areas, then we can, cut down on our expenses. Namrata, can we go to the next slide? Yes. So in the existing building category, there are mandatory appraisals, and there are certain aspects that will have to be met in order to achieve this rating. But the 6 sections apart from that are also covered, are part of this mandatory appraisals, and we are going to focus on existing building is the site parameters, maintenance, housekeeping, energy, water, human health and comfort, and social aspects. So these are the 6 sections that we look at in the existing building category. Yes, Namrata, next slide. It's a percentile based rating system, and we rate projects on various, the way you score marks in various categories. So you get, if you are in the range of 25 to 40, you get a 1 star, and this is how you keep getting more and more stars. And if you are more than 86 points, then you get a 5 star. And you can see the breakup of various percentages that are there. Now coming back to today's agenda, and that is the BFI indicator, I would like to talk about why we are doing this. As initially mentioned, that building fitness indicator is GRIHA's social initiative to contribute towards the welfare of people, to tackle the pandemic that we are going through, that is the novel coronavirus. It was developed keeping in mind that we are not going to rate any projects, because none of us is really aware of what kind of parameters are required in order to actually say that your buildings are safe. But we have kept in mind that whatever information was there around, and whatever was there, we have kept in mind that the best of the information we have used to develop this self-assessment tool. That this will help various organizations to measure the preparedness of workplaces. So whenever we are planning to go back, we will understand that how ready are we, when we are going to go back to our offices in order to prevent the exposure to coronavirus. The larger intent is to provide a certain degree of assurance, not only to the occupants, but also to, the people who are, where we are going back, so that, the premises are safe. You can start work as usual and the activities resume as normal. This is a tool. It is basically a checklist to assess the measures adopted by organizations and building managers to ensure the hygiene and ventilation in a workplace. We will understand that there are a lot of organizations that where we feel that a lot of authentic information is available. This tool provides guidance based on standard practices followed across the globe, like we are following WHO, OSHO, and in our own country, we are following the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare guidelines to prevent the workplace exposure to coronavirus. It has consciously been formulated as a tool and not a rating, because we felt that at this point we will not be able to do any kind of site visits or really go out and help people implement them. It is basically for you to understand that this is a guideline, and you should follow it as much as we can to ensure the safety of the people who are going to come back to the offices. The ultimate aim of this is the of the occupant while enhancing the productivity of the organization and the economy of the nation. With this in mind, we all know that, so Namrata, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So the 3 major pillars on which this entire BFI has been created is basically we have ensured that we will take care of all the cleanliness protocols that are existing everywhere. So we are basically following the WHO current guidelines to ensure that the protocols that have been defined by them, we are following them. How to sanitize the air, the hygiene levels, and the surfaces to break down the protein surface of the virus. That is something that is also essential. And third, and the foremost, is the awareness part, where we feel that we should know that the organizations should have proper awareness protocols or awareness at various places within the organization, so that people are aware as to what kind of measures the organization has taken to ensure their safety. So based on these three pillars, we have designed this BFI tool. Now to talk in detail about the process, I would invite my colleague Namrata to go into the detail and explain you what exactly is covered in this tool. So thank you very much once again for inviting me. Over to you, Namrata.
Thank you, ma'am. So coming to the process, I'll take you through the online tool as well. But before that, let's quickly glance through the steps involved in using BFI. So the first step towards using the tool is, of course, registration. So now who is going to register? It is the organization or the managers who have the authority to set protocols and take charge. If you are an employee, then you can also recommend this to your organization or the managers and encourage them to take it up. Once you have registered, you will see a checklist there. This checklist is nothing but guidelines in form of questions. So when we say are your employees thermally screened before entering the premises, then we are recommending to you that do this as a recommended practice, and we will provide a reference link for you on the tool to check other details with respect to this question. So basically you're supposed to answer these questions to understand what is your position right now with respect to the preparedness. Now, once you have filled the checklist and you have answered all the questions, the next step is to submit the inputs. As soon as you submit the inputs, a report is displayed on the screen, and the same report is going to be sent on the email ID during what you have added during the registration. Just a minute, this is not moving. Okay, coming to the next section of the webinar, categories and subcategories. So now based on the three parameters that Shabnam ma'am just mentioned, we are going to look at the different categories. So the first thing that you will notice when you come to your office is going to be the workplace. Therefore, the workplace becomes our first category. Then will come the people around you, the workforce. And the last category would be awareness, because you as an employee need to be aware of your roles and responsibilities in the situation, and you should also be aware of the responsibilities of your employers. Now, each of these categories are further divided into three subcategories. So while you are using the tool, these categories would appear as a checklist. And these checklists would be filled for the following subcategories. So the first one that you see on the screen is policy, then social distancing and hygiene. Coming to the checklist 1, workplace, in the first subcategory policy, we ask you to do 5 things. The first of the thing is whether you are implementing the policy guidelines provided by the open local body or government for the post-lockdown phase. The second point, does your organization have a policy for thermal screening of people? So typically this screening is generally done with the help of thermal scanners or cameras. These cameras detect the body temperature. If the temperature turns out to be more than the average body temperature, which as per a study of Stanford University is 97.5 degrees Fahrenheit, then the person can be taken aside for further screening. This acts as the first precautionary measure. Latest study reveals that even asymptomatic people can be carriers. Therefore, we suggest it as a precautionary measure. The third point is whether your organization has a policy for social distancing. This is primarily with respect to the rearrangement of your workstations and dining spaces and providing barricading at reception areas or areas with high footfall. The fourth thing to do is, does your organization have a policy for waste management? And the last thing is, does your organization have a policy for the post-pandemic scenario with respect to aspects related to spread of the infection? So we are here talking about social distancing, personal and workplace hygiene. So these are the 5 things that we should be doing. Coming to the second subcategory of workplace, social distancing. So right now we have just spoken about having a policy for social distancing for workplace. But now we will understand what exactly is to be there in the policy that is supposed to be implemented in the building. So there are a total of 6 things to be done. The first place that you come across after entering any workplace is the reception area. How would you safeguard that area and people working there? So the answer is pretty simple. It is by putting up barricading in such areas. So probably you can use a glass screen, or you can strategically put a caution tape. Essentially, we have to ensure that it is a barricading that ensures minimum 1 meter distance between the employee and any visitor. Now at places, you may come across the distance being mentioned at 2 meters, but as Shabnam ma'am has emphasized earlier also, and I would again reiterate that we have taken these numbers or these parameters from authentic sources. So this particular distance has been mentioned on the website of Ministry of Health and Family Affairs. The second thing that we ask you to do is rearrangement of workstations in a way that minimum 1 meter distance is maintained between the employees. The third thing, rearrange the dining space or cafeteria that you have at your workplace to ensure social distancing. Now the image you see here is an example of one such dining space where you probably block every alternate table from use. Fourth thing that you see is provision of an isolation room in case of any symptomatic employee. So given, what we do, we give them a separate isolation room. If you see them that they are, constantly coughing, so we have a dedicated isolation room for them. And of course, then you can ask them to work from home if the situation is not so good. Coming to the fifth point, it is about floor marking. Whenever you are anticipating that there are going to be long queues, such places should have a floor marking, ensuring minimum 1 meter distance between the 2 people standing. You must have commonly seen this floor marking in probably medical store or grocery stores where they have been following this. Now coming to the last thing to do is providing water dispenser in a way that queuing doesn't happen. People do not gather around these dispenser, and enough numbers have been provided to avoid queuing. And here you can have floor marking as well to ensure that. Now we come to the third subcategory, hygiene. Let's talk about hygiene with respect to cleanliness. Hygiene has one more part in checklist 1, that is with respect to the ambient air. Here we will focus on the cleanliness part. This part is further divided into hygiene at spaces, for people and items, and with respect to the waste management. Now, when we talk of cleanliness at workplaces, there are 4 things to be done. You need to have a cleaning schedule in place. You should ideally identify the common spaces that need regular cleaning as per the schedule. Then you ensure that all these areas are cleaned as per guidelines. So for example, when we say cleaning of indoor spaces, the Ministry of Health and Family Affairs has given guidelines that tell us that how do you disinfect the floor surfaces. So generally they recommend, I think if I'm correct, they say that you should use 1% of hypochlorite in water for mopping. And we have also added the links to these documents so that you can directly refer to them. Then the same guidelines are to be referred for cleaning of toilets. So in the guidelines, it has been precisely told how the commode, the lid, the wash basin, the tap fittings, flooring, and even the soap dispensers are to be cleaned. And lastly, the frequently touched areas. How these frequently touched surfaces areas must be cleaned from time to time to avoid the spread of infection has also been very clearly mentioned. Now coming to the hygiene for people and foreign items, the first thing to do when we talk about hygiene for people is to provide sanitizers with minimum 70% alcohol in them as per the guidelines. And these sanitizers should be provided near high contact zones. So for example, if I have to open a door and I have a sanitizer next to that door, then I would use the sanitizer first and then open the door, which reduces my chances of spreading any infection that I may be carrying. Secondly, provision of personal protective equipment, which is commonly called as PPE. So you as an employer may either ask your employees to get their own mask, or you would provide the mask for all. And the last thing to do here is, whenever any foreign item is being delivered at your place, then that is either disinfected or you leave it at a safe place for at least 2 to 3 days. Now, why are we saying so? Okay, let me tell you, we are saying this not because we want to, but there was a recently study done by the New England Journal of Medicine that tested how long the virus can remain stable on different kind of surfaces within a controlled laboratory settings. So they found out, interestingly, that it was detectable on copper for up to 4 hours, and on cardboard-like surface up to 24 hours, and on plastic and steel, it was there for almost 72 hours. So considering all these factors, we have included this clause in the tool. Now, hygiene with respect to waste management, there are 6 things to be done in our checklist under this subcategory. First is provision of multi-colored dustbins for segregation of different kinds of waste, including the dustbin for disposal of PPE. Now, probably you would have it for dry waste, wet waste. Now, this is a new addition because of COVID, that we will have to have a dedicated dustbin even for the PPE. Now, why the emphasis on covered bins? Because there is an increased risk of spread of infection and spillage, and easily covered bins can avoid such issues. And multicolored bins also encourage proper segregation. Second thing that one is supposed to do is providing disposable bags inside the bin so that there is no sticking of waste inside. The third thing to do is placing dustbins at all common areas. Now, you know, because of lack of dustbins at common areas, we tend to, put the waste here and there. So to avoid such practice and, disposing the waste haphazardly, we should have adequate number of bins placed. Then the fourth point, a separate closed area for storage of waste before they are disposed of needs to be provided. Then the building managers should ensure safe disposal of waste from these collection areas. With all this is being done, a high level of hygiene must be maintained to control the spread of any kind of infection. Now, for example, when you are transferring waste from the collection area to the disposal van, the disposal bags would ensure that there is no spillage happening. So these are not two great things that we are asking anybody to do, but these are just simple, small steps that will ensure that we are moving towards a healthy environment. Now, there are also people who are involved in collection and disposal of these waste items. The provision to be made for those staff members would be discussed, but in the next checklist, the second checklist for workforce. The last thing required to be done under this subcategory is disinfecting cleaning equipments as recommended by the MOHFW guidelines. Now, coming to the hygiene category with respect to the ambient air, the reason why ambient air has been taken into consideration for this tool is because it has been specified in ISHRAE guidelines that there have been studies that suggest that coronavirus has been isolated from swabs taken from exhaust vents in rooms occupied by infected patients. So it becomes very important for us to touch upon this aspect as well, which means that HVAC systems and filters need special attention. So we are going to take care of 3 things in this subhead. The first thing is there a provision of exhaust in common spaces of air exchange and to maximize ventilation? So here we are precisely talking about the policy part. And are there provision of treatment of microbial contamination? So what do you do for the treatment? Either you have UV lights in HVAC system, or you have carbon filters, or you have high efficient filters. The third thing to be considered is whether the building temperature is maintained within the comfort bands of 24 to 30 degrees Celsius as per ISHRAE guidelines. Now, of course, this also takes into account the air velocity, relative humidity, and the clothing factor. As per the WHO, the virus can spread no matter how sunny or hot the weather is. Now, we know little more details about this virus and how it functions. So there has been a recent study on COVID where they found that, the COVID-19 is highly stable on surfaces for 14 days at a temperature of 4 degrees and 1 day at 37 degrees, and it is stable for 30 minutes when the temperature is 56 degrees Celsius. And these are the temperatures that need to be inactive to make the virus inactive. And the last section, the last action that we have included here is operation and maintenance. So the guidelines that have been mentioned initially needs to be strictly followed for O&M as well. Now, after filling all these answers, we have reached the second category, that is the workforce. Now, who is the workforce? People like you and me who are going to work at these offices, including the housekeeping and the service staff. Now, with respect to the first subcategory, policy under checklist 2, the first question that arises is whether the organization has policy for the employee's work schedule. So you could allow probably the flexi hours, or it could be work from home that we all of us are doing right now. And you could also choose to go for employee scheduling, wherein you have strategies such as, offices working at 50% attendance every day probably. So coming to the second thing that the employer needs to do is to ensure that they have policy for symptomatic employees as well. So when there is a policy, then you are sure of what actions are to be taken in such a situation arises, and there is no last minute panic. Now we have spoken about the employees who are working within the building. Now let's focus on the visitors, people who would come from outside. So the third thing that we are suggesting you to do is having a hygiene policy for visitors or delivery professionals. Now, what exactly is supposed to be put in this policy with respect to BIF would be discussed in the hygiene part of workforce. Now, coming to the social distancing part, only one thing is supposed to be done, and that is training your employees for social distancing. Here, you will have to tell the employees the importance of social distancing and encourage them to not come in close contact while talking. Then we come to the third subcategory where you are supposed to take care of 5 things. The first thing is the provision of PPE, essentially for the symptomatic employees. Respiratory hygiene must be maintained as per WHO and MOHFW guidelines to prevent the infection from spreading. Second, provision of PPE for housekeeping staff. Now we are talking about PPE for housekeeping staff, so it can't be the normal PPEs that you and I use. So there are different PPEs required, like they would have the 3 layers mask, they'll have heavy duty gloves and rubber boots too. So again, this is as per the MOHFW guidelines. Now one should ensure that all the disposable PPE must be disposed of safely, and hands should be washed carefully after taking off the PPE. Then the third point to be taken care of is health checkup for housekeeping staff, because this is the most vulnerable group of people in the organization. If you are not talking about, say, hospital or clinical or testing labs. Now, talking about the visitors, there should be a provision of sanitizer at the entrance, main entrance itself. And lastly, the visitors should be screened thermally before they enter the premises. Now, ideally, you shouldn't allow any visitor inside the premises. For example, you can avoid entry of delivery boys. But of course, if you have any important meeting, then you would definitely call the outsider inside your premises. But then you have to ensure the social distancing parameters. Now, well, with this, we come to the last category of the tool checklist, which is checklist 3, awareness. Now, why is awareness so important? I would rather say it is perhaps the most important of all, because in a situation where we are collectively facing this pandemic threat, it is vital for all of us to be careful about our actions and the precautionary measures that needs to be taken. Therefore, with respect to the first subcategory, what we are recommending you to do is ensure policy for information dissemination. And secondly, have a dedicated team who has been trained to address the queries of the workforce with respect to the virus spread and the infection caused. Now, this is the awareness part. We have combined the social distancing and hygiene, and collectively we are talking about two things that you are supposed to do. The first most is having posters displayed on importance of social distancing and hygiene, including the respiratory hygiene. And where are you supposed to display these posters? It's obvious that wherever there is high footfall, you're going to have the display of these posters. Second and last thing to do is the organization should send timely alerts to the workforce on basic preventive measures during their stay in the workplace. With this, you have completed all your checklist on the tool successfully. Now, towards the end, you will see a report wherein for every question that you have answered in yes, you get 1 point, approximately a point. And this result would be displayed for each category and for the subcategory individually. When the result is displayed like this, you can gauge where you are falling behind and how you need to ramp up your performance. And there you also see a meter that shows whether you're doing poor, good, or very good. Now, all this is said and done, but what happens in cases where you have said no? How would you know that what exactly is supposed to be done and what are the guidelines to be followed in those cases? In such cases, we will provide you recommendations. So let me explain that to you with an example. So for the question, are alcohol-based hand sanitizers provided at all common areas? You have answered in no. Then based on the MOHFW guidelines, we will tell you why is not providing hand sanitizers the wrong approach and what should be the right way of providing these sanitizers. Now, these sanitizers should consist of minimum 70% alcohol and they should be placed at locations of frequent touch. And with this, we will provide you with the reference link so that you can look for any other detail that you want pertaining to this topic. When you do all this with respect to the workplace and workforce, there is some level of confidence that is inculcated within you that yes, my workplace is prepared to act against the pandemic threat. And ensuring this confidence was our first intent of developing this tool. Now, this is also one step in the direction to enhance the health and well-being of the building occupants. And with mentally relaxed and physically fit employees, the organization would soon make up for the time lost during the lockdown. So these were the three major intent of developing this tool. With that, we come to the end of our presentation. And this is the link where you can access the BFI tool. And if time permits, and I see it's just 5 o'clock, then we can probably quickly go to the tool and see how exactly it works. If you could just give me a minute, I will just change my screen. Yes, so this is how the tool actually looks. So you have to simply type bfi.grihaindia.org on the Google search engine, and you will come to this building fitness indicator. Now, suppose if it is too difficult for you to remember bfi.grihaindia.org, then you can simply go to our website, grihaindia.org, and on the home page, probably second or third option where you will get to see the BIF tool. So you can simply click on this. So this is already open at my end. So like any other tool, we have kept it very simple and really user-friendly. So you just see three options here: the home, the checklist, and about. So when you click on about, you get to know more about Griha Council and our initiative. You can just click on know more about Griha Council to go to our main Griha website. Checklist now, as I and Shabnam ma'am have been mentioning, that this tool is for even for individuals and also for organizations. Now for individual, he is just wanting to know, okay, what does this checklist has? So all the questions have been enlisted here based on the categories that we discussed a few minutes ago. So this is only the checklist that you get to see. Now, if you want to use the checklist, you have to go on the home page and you have to log in. So simply you now, to save on time, I have already created my own profile over here. So you have to simply go on sign up and sign in. So very basic details have been asked, like, what is your name, organization name, strength, location, that's it. And just it is hardly 4 or 5 questions that we have asked. Now, when you log in successfully, you get to see a page where it is seen, it's written begin evaluation. So we will just click on this to start the evaluation. Now, whatever questions that we discussed in the presentation have been enlisted here sequence-wise, same sequences there. So you see workplace, you see workforce, and you see awareness. Now you have to complete each of these sections to get the score. Now, we are not going to go through each and every question, but I'll just simply tell you how easy this tool is. Now, suppose let's take the first question, policy. Now, the first question is the organization implementing the policy guidelines provided by the local authorities or government for the post-lockdown phase? Now, of course, we all are bound to do that. So I click a yes over here. So you can do this on your mobile also. It's that simple. Now, what I'll do, I will quickly select yes for alternative questions. Like, does the building organization have a policy for social distancing at places like workstations, reception, dining areas? We click a yes. Then probably the 5th question also we will turn on yes. Now we move on to the next part. Now you see here we are at page 1. Now the moment we click next, you can directly go to the second part, or here you can click on next and go to the second part. I'm randomly selecting yes for alternative questions, and then I go to next. Again, next. So these are basically the categories and subcategories that we had. And probably I'm seeing alternative. Okay, 9th goes yes, then the 11th and the 13th. And then we click next. Now, if you see, the moment I've started completing my sheets, this pen mark has come here, the pencil mark has come here. So right now we are at the 4th part. The moment we complete this, the 5th part is the analysis, where we will get to see, okay, where we are right now with respect to workplace. Now, this is about hygiene. We go next. Now, this is the analysis that you see for the workplace. Now, in policy, we are scoring somewhere around 60%. So 60% of the things that you have already done. Now, what you have not done, the recommendations have come below. So point 1 and 2 is actually the recommendation. So we are saying that you should develop a policy to ensure screening of employees, workforce, visitors before they enter the building. Screening can be done using a quick questionnaire or using an instrument like a thermal scanner or a camera. So these are the recommendations that you see immediately below your results. So now in social distancing, we are scoring around 50 points, 50%, 54 in hygiene A, and in hygiene B, we have 50% again. Now moving to the next category. So we have completed the workplace. Now we are coming to workforce. Again, we will just simply click next. Okay, yes, that goes next. A yes for 3rd, for 5th, and we go next. Now again, we are good. Social distancing, we are at 100%, policy 67%, hygiene 50%. Now again, you get to see whatever is not done, and we are recommending you to do that. Coming to the last questionnaire, awareness, we click a yes for policy. Then for social distancing, the second subcategory, next. And here you get the analysis. Now, when you submit, now the result would come. So the meter you saw, it just moved from poor to good. So we are yet not in the very good category, but we are in the good category. Now, here you will get to see the overall result. So here you don't see the recommendations, unlike the previous analysis. Here you will just see how much you have scored in each of the categories, right? If you want to see it in detail, then you click on this button, View Detailed Report. And then you exactly get to see, okay, the organization name, location, overall status is good, and we have evaluated our building on Monday, June 15, 2020. Now here is your responses. Now for whatever categories we had put in yes, you don't see a link next to it in the reference tab. Now suppose we had clicked no for the second question. Does the organization have a policy for screening of employees, workforce, visitors at the entrance? Now I had said no, but now that I had discussed it with the management and the higher up authorities, they have told that go into the depth and see what can be done. So there is a reference link that I can click, and it will direct you to an external website from where actually we have picked up this guideline or this clause or parameter, whatever you want to call it. So this will directly take you to that. So if you see, this is OSHO guidelines. So guidance on preparing workplaces for COVID-19. So this is a report that we have referred to, and it is being put in the public domain for anybody to study and further enhance their overall score. So suppose you want to move from good to very good, that is very much possible by using this reference link. Now we also said that one of our objective was to ensure that you give a sense of confidence to your employees also. So what you can do is you can simply email this report. So you can send report to mail. Once you click the button, it has gone on my personal email ID. So I'll just click on OK. And I have already opened my personal Gmail account so that I can show you. So here, I was not wanting to move the screen so much so that, you see that the BFI report has just come here. I'll click on that. So when you register, now I had already registered myself. So when you register, you get a welcome email. So I'll just quickly open. So this tells you what are the categories, and we thank you for enrolling. And of course, as Shabnam ma'am said, this is a free tool. So there's no charge. So you have to simply log in and you get this welcome email. Now, how does the report look like? So the report is similar to what we see on the screen. So you will get to see all your responses and all your answers over here. And this you can very easily email to all your employees to tell them that, look, we have undergone an assessment and we are fit to be occupied again. So with that, I would like to conclude the presentation. And we are dot on time. It's 5:15, and we have now I have to move to the question and answer. Right, Sachin sir, if I'm correct?
Yes.
Okay, so should I be, I should stop the screen sharing?
Yes, you can.
So let me see the energy on the Telegram group with yes, you liked it, you didn't like it. So, and then we can move to the questions. Let the energy be seen on the chat box. Now I am excited to open the chat box.
May I request Amrita ma'am to please pass on questions, if any, in the Telegram group.
So while we have a lot of compliments for the presentation, Shabnam ma'am and Namrata, a lot of people have said a lot of very good things about the presentation, which is also very clear. So one of the questions that I got was, what is the energy performance index? I think this was discussed by Shabnam ma'am. So energy performance index is one query which somebody had made. Can you please answer that question?
Yeah, sorry, because that was a very brief presentation. So I did not go into a lot of details, but it is a very, very common term that's used these days. That's called energy performance index. So basically, it is the total energy consumed in a year over upon your total built up area. So that's a simple calculation in a layman language. That is how you calculate the EPI. So whatever energy it has, the kilowatt hours that you consume in 1 year upon your total built up area in meters.
So that means a low EPI would indicate a good green status of the building, correct?
Yes, right.
Okay, okay. A question which I think Namrata answered towards the end, and Shabnam ma'am had also said, is that is there any fee to access the BFI? You have made it amply clear that it is free for people to log in and use. Another question
what I would like to, Amrita ji, add here is that we are definitely there to help you out in case you find it difficult to, find any particular guidelines, or you need any guidelines in implementing any of it. Please reach out to us at our info IDs, and we'll definitely provide you some solutions to it.
I'm sure the participants are listening and should feel free to contact the resource persons because they are available at the website. They will answer your queries readily. Another question which has been asked by someone called Saurabh Ahuja. He's an architect student. In fact, it's more of a suggestion. He says, I would like to ask to please add a point. I think this is a suggestion for the BFI. This is a suggestion for the BFI. That please add a point for modifications for X gates handles, which should be replaced with kick plates or sensor gates and sensor taps to ensure minimum touch at the point of frequent touch. Is I think it is more of a suggestion for organizations to make these changes in their infrastructure.
Well, that is definitely a very good suggestion. If we are looking at something that's an upcoming building, or where these kind of installations are yet to be made, but we have provided these guidelines in general to all the buildings that are there, and replacement or doing it at this short notice may not be possible. So what we are suggesting for these organizations is maintaining the proper sanitization of how you are maintaining these handles, or how you're using them. I think this is the best we can do at this moment.
And I also think it is important that making too many changes should not discourage people from making these proper measures, which are easy to do right now. So when you suggest a lot of complicated things or too many cost intensive suggestions, it discourages an organization from going in for even the simple measures.
Right.
So these are all the questions that I can really see. So now we have, if there is anybody else who wishes to ask a question from amongst our attendees, maybe the IQAC members.
So one thing which I definitely would like to also share here is that this webinar is also available on our website, which we had done previously as an open course. So if anybody wants to have any further clarity, or could not join us, or has missed any part of today's presentation, this is also available on our website. Namrata, do you have that link right away, or probably we can pass it on to the college, and through them you can send it to all the participants and share that presentation also.
I think this will answer the request of a lot of people who have told us to share the presentation. So I think it would be nice for them to go through it and maybe share it with their own organization to put these measures in place. And the post-COVID, when we get back to work, things will be simpler, and we'll be less apprehensive about going back to work.
Right.
Just to update, this presentation shall be available on Mukta Association as well. Right now it is going on live, and this will be available. This link will be available on Mukta Association as well.
Okay, so there's another way of connecting. If you are not able to reach on Griha's website, then Mukta's website is also hosting this today. So either way, I mean, the idea is the same, that wherever you find that there are missing links, you have not been able to capture any part of the presentation, you should please use this links to get back to the presentation.
there's one more. I think we can make this the last question. There is someone who's asking, there is a lot of confusion regarding Griha and IGBC rating.
Mhm.
So,
Yes, I understand the question, and definitely, I did not go very deep into explaining the other ratings that are available. Griha is different from IGBC, first of all, to begin with. I will only talk about my rating. There are a number of ratings that are available. Some have emerged from some existing ratings like USGBC, or there are the trims of from US based ratings, but Griha is a rating that has been created in the Indian context and is different from IGBC. This is all I can say at the moment, the differentiating factor between the two. But definitely, if you want to really have an access to what is a key differentiator, you may access it through our website. You will find more details on what we are and how we work.
I think that is largely it. These are the questions that have come up from the participants, and I think the presentation was so lucid and clear that most of the queries would have been answered during the course of the presentation.
Yes.
So that was the intent, to keep it as simple as possible.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So over to Sachin.
Okay. Let's proceed. Okay. Yes, the presentation was very well structured and very insightful, and so there was hardly any room to ask questions. I'm thankful to the resource persons for such a kind of organized and insightful session. You touched upon almost every crucial aspect related to make our workplaces infection free. Now we are in the last segment of the program. So I would like to invite Mrs. Manisha Parelkar, Madam, to present a brief summary of the session and to conclude with formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Sachin Bombay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please proceed.
Yes. Very good evening to each one of you. It was a lovely session, lot of simple but great take-home messages for all of us. In this world of fear that we are currently living in, this was a great light of positivity, and it will definitely guide all our institutions and organizations to create confidence in us to go back to our workplaces. A lot of take-home messages, that some of which are noted down. What I understood from Ms. Sabnam Bashi's talk was the Griha rating systems for existing buildings. These can be applicable for all of us, including colleges and schools and even the residential buildings. What I liked about it is it'll give us a greener status, maybe give us a greener environment along with a safer environment that we currently want. The second thing that we learned was a business fitness indicator. It's a self-assessment tool, and it's a very, very useful tool for all of us under the current pandemic situation. Architect Namrata Mahal did a great job of explaining it very simply, and this will definitely reinforce the confidence and enthuse us to join our workplaces with a lot of confidence with our students. Now I present the vote of thanks on behalf of my college, Srimati P.N. Doshi. Any effort is a teamwork, and there are a lot of members seen on the screen and those who are not on the screen that we need to thank. And today I would begin to thank a great visionary, Nicholas Tesla, and Mr. Berners-Lee, who had a vision for a world wide web. This is the very reason we are here. And this is a very, very green initiative. Otherwise, the resources that go into arranging a webinar, even for 200 participants, is enormous in terms of time, energy, money, etc. So thanks to Nicholas Tesla and Tim Berners-Lee and many more who had a vision for such a technology, which is a green one, I suppose. Thanks to Ms. Sabnam Bashi, our chief guest from Terry and Griha Council, for a very lucid talk. It was informative, yet non-technical people like us could understand it well. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks to Ms. Namrata Mahal. Yes, I've seen her growing up, and many of us have seen her growing up. It's beautiful to see you metamorphose and be a keynote speaker and represent TERI. You made this tool so simple for us that it seems very simple that each of us could go and find out where we stand in the current situation in terms of safety. Thanks to Mr. Subhash Athavale and Dr. Manpreet Kaur, who are the representatives of Mukta, for providing us a platform. It's a beautiful platform where we can connect with so many people. It seems today we have participants, about 250 participants from 17 states and even Nepal. That's wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thanks to our very own management trust members for being cooperative for all our endeavors, especially Srimati Bijal Doshi, who has been present here today with us, and Dr. S. Kumudavali, who has been our constant strength and support during all times, good and bad. Thanks to Dr. Asha Menon, our principal, who is the force below our wings, who is our strength again, our convener and vice principal, Dr. Rekha Randeve. Regarding our team, some of us were visible, many more were behind the scenes. Thanks, Mr. Rajveer Chauhan, Ms. Hashmat Khan, Dr. Sachin Bumbe, Amrita Behel, and Ms. Malti Singh. Here, I would take this opportunity to thank each one of our participants. Some of you were colleagues of mine, some of you from other institutions, teaching institutions and otherwise, and some of you seem to be very professional participants, maybe from the background of architecture or construction. All of you deserve a thundering applause for being such a great audience. Thank you for being there with us today. And thank you for asking great questions. Not many of them were needed because the presentation was absolutely superb. Thank you one and all. And now we end the seminar. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you for having us. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we'll stop the live streaming first.